Well, Doctors Karen and Matilda here. We appreciate both our returning and new subscribers and viewers. Your viewership means a lot to us. It means what we're saying and what we're sharing, someone out there can benefit from it. Our clips are for educational purposes and it shares our experiences as we journeyed through the academic continuum and have become academic doctors. We wish when we were studying, we had these clips or similar ones. So we will continue what I wish I knew before doing my studies series. And today we talk in depth about time management. We have referred to it a few times on other clips, but today we really do a deep dive into it and try to cover a lot in the next 5 minutes or so. Time management. Question. What prevents me? What prevents you from managing your time? Me from managing my time. As adults, there are many reasons, valid ones, but some of the main ones. You're an adult, you have responsibilities, you have bills to pay, children to take care of, family who rely on you, be it an elderly parent, you have childcare, women get pregnant, you have to make sure your relationships are still going strong with your spouse and your relatives, etc. Then you have the academic challenges where your supervisor might not be the best at communicating with you. Uh, you may have changing research, unexplained changing research attention and direction. Then you have your own self, your physical and mental health. You may have developmental health issues stemming from mental stress. You may be worrying too much about all your responsibilities and you became overwhelmed and it manifests itself physically. So the list is quite lengthy. Uh, how do you juggle it all? You know, there's a quote I want to share with you. You can do anything, but not everything, at least not at once. What is time management? It's not about being busy, it's about being effective. It means planning how to divide your time between responsibilities and activities. So you have to not only budget your finances, but you also have to budget your time. And try to work smarter, not harder. And I always leave one of my favorite quotes at the bottom here. I never lose, either I win or I learn, by the late great Nelson Mandela. How can bike pass quite inappropriately? How can I manage my time as an adult student? We all want to know the answer to that question. We try so many things, but over time, you never know what will work for you until you try a few of them, and over time, you learn. I will share some of the ones that worked for the two of us. Scheduling and time blocking. So, scheduling, that's a document, you have pasted somewhere. In my case, I use sticky notes. I used to stick them all over my computer and wall and even in the fridge. Time blocking. where you block your best time of the day. In my case, it was 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. For some reason, that was my best daytime. That's when my brain was most awake. So that time, I use it a few times a week to do the hardest part of my research, or the parts I do not like at all. Uh, Prioritization. Urgent versus important. Everything is urgent. But what is important? For the next 3 years of your study or 2 years of your study, depending on which postgraduate program you're doing, that's important for the next 2 years. And that's a form of time blocking too, where you block off the time that you have to study. Uh, so it's urgent if you have to run to take your child to classes or to the clinic or hospital. It's important to finish your research in a timely manner. So how do you prioritize them? It's important to think deeply about this, write down or try to anticipate what can go wrong and how you'll respond to it. Because I find if you have a plan beforehand, it doesn't affect you as deeply and impact your schedule if you prepare for these things in advance. Being an international student, I had to do a lot of planning and also living with a disability. So planning is not an issue for me uh, because I practice it every time I walk or move. Set boundaries. Often that's the hardest thing to do, especially when you look at your child in the eye or you feel guilty about neglecting your responsibility as a spouse or a child to a parent or vice versa. Uh, to say to them, these are the time blocks that we spend together, the responsibilities I can be in charge of within the next 2 years. After then, we can revisit this. Uh, it's tough sometimes to stick to it. Even if we talk about it, to stick to it could be tough. Energy management, managing our energy, because studying, your brain absorbs a lot of your energy. So energy management is very important. I had friends who lived on Red Bull, not the best way to manage your energy. But there are times when you're at the end of your tether, when you're so exhausted from all the responsibilities, a little bit of booster is important. But in general, plan to manage your energy level, and that includes diet, exercising, mental health management, etc. Use a few tech tools. A lot of us who were born before the 2000 don't necessarily see tech tools as important to our daily living, but use some tech tools. For me, I love to use apps. I have apps that help me when I write my paper to fine tune my referencing, because referencing is such an important part of academic research and it's a very frustrating part as well. So I learned to manage that. Um, there are Mendeley that help you to lay out and highlight parts of the papers that you are using in your research. Join academic groups, academic support groups. There's a lot of them on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and other sites. Have an accountability buddy. I didn't have this, but as a teacher for in special education, I did uh, practice this. Actually, I was an accountability buddy for a student, an adult student with ADHD and intellectual disabilities. It was an interesting and frustrating yet rewarding exercise to be that person's buddy, but we made it through. Most of all, remember to take mental health timeouts. Reward yourself after that best time of the day when you do uh, your research. If you get your family to agree and to stick to the boundaries you laid out, reward yourself with your favorite uh, non-alcoholic beverage. As an adult, you're allowed to do your alcoholic beverage too. Just do it in moderation. And for me, in my time, we didn't talk about mental health. But you do know that something is going wrong. You have headaches, you're frustrated, you don't want to continue this studying this topic again and again. You you need to be somewhere that is totally non-academic for a brief while to rejuvenate yourself and then to go back. So you listen to your instincts. It tells you a lot that this is time that you need a timeout. You need to a little reward and so on. It tells you. Remember, we are encouraging you here to be your own overcomer, and as usual, we're always rooting for you. We like to complete this stint by talking about some targeted solutions. That to-do list. Uh, you can have that list and responsible. You add responsibility to it. You would have if you have children, do a wheel, something that's fun with colors, with the roster. They turn the wheel of responsibilities or something like that, wheel of chores or something like that. And so when they turn, everybody know what they're responsible for during the week. Don't be afraid to give your children many responsibilities. Don't be afraid to talk to your spouse about or your parents about helping you with meal prep. Uh, and once you rotate it, they don't feel burdensome with it alone. If you're living in cultures where you are unable to do that, I don't know how you'll work around that, but think it through. Maybe get a mediator to help you work through that. Uh, have a weekly planner for yourself. Schedule your study. So treat it as a job. So it's an extra job you take now for the next 2 years or 3 years. So you also have a planner for that. Deadlines you have to reach, parts that you commit yourself to type on, either on a daily basis or a weekly basis or so on. And of course, share these here. Share the calendar, share the to-do list, share them as much responsibility as you can with your family members, with your supervisor. And I did this one. We had shared cloud documents when we were writing our academic articles. So we can see how far we're progressing and where we left off after the last meeting, what we spoke of and so on, because it's there in the cloud and we can see it. So you look at that and then it refreshes your memory on what we did beforehand, and so we know now we can continue. Because I found before we did that, we were losing our ability to stay on course and wasting a lot of time, and we were getting a bit frustrated. And then when you don't find a solution within the area of what you're supposed to do, we tend to blame each other. So having those pre-planned activities and thought process and so on helps a lot. I personally use the alarm tracking time, and I would have the alarm as one of my buddies to help me remember things as I go through the day, what classes I have to attend, what groups I'm meeting with, which peer I'm going to talk to, almost anything I use it for. Meal prepping. Uh, I also had it on the alarm, time to meal prep. If I was taking any medication, I also put it in there. So the alarm was a huge game changer for me in time management. So I hope these here help you, and there are much more because there are apps and AIs and so on that you can interact with that can help you through time management. Even YouTube has a alarm that you can use if your phone doesn't have a very loud one. Sometimes I have several. I use Google's own, I use my own, and I use the YouTube one. So if I fail to use here one, the other one is gonna pop up 2 minutes later and so on. So to keep you on track. Uh, Need help? You can email us. Um, we'll respond to you in a timely manner. Uh, in our next clip, we'll be answering viewers' questions or those online and also sharing our experiences. Remember to include yours in the comments section. The link to our growing playlist is in the description. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and remember to make it a great week. And from the desk of Doctors Karen and Matilda,